Why do you think there is such reluctance by the scientific community to entertain even the concept that this new deadly virus came from the lab where the new deadly virus was found?
Oh, I think the scientific community is always entertained it, but the overwhelming evidence over the last 3 years since the start of the pandemic has clearly shown widespread support for another narrative, and that is COVID-19 began just like the original SARS did, severe acute respiratory syndrome, which is a coronavirus that emerged out of southern China in the wet markets in 2002. Similar to Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome, another coronavirus that emerged out of the Arabian Peninsula, both from bats. And this is COVID-19 is going by the same playbook. And we have now 5 or 6 scientific papers in top quality journals clearly supporting that, the evidence that it arose out of a wet market in Wuhan. In contrast, there are 0 papers on lab leak because there is no evidence for it. So
hold on. We got a couple of things. I appreciate this, that there's the scientific community. There's also just sort of the community of what makes sense. The U.S. intelligence community believes that the first 3 people to have COVID-19 in its current form, cases 1, 2, and 3, were scientists inside this lab. Did they all go to the wet market and eat the same bat?
No. The U.S. intelligence community said exactly the opposite, that those 3 individuals, that's now debunked, and there is no evidence that they had COVID-19, where it clearly arose from the wet market. So, I mean, it's really important that you look closely at the sources of information. So the U.S. intelligence report clearly overwhelmingly supports the natural origins of COVID-19, just like SARS and MERS.
The National Intelligence Council, Natural Exposure, the FBI, and the Department of Energy, laboratory-associated incident was the most likely cause, CIA unable to determine the precise origin. Again, I appreciate the idea of science.
No, but the summary document from U.S. intelligence clearly supports natural origins. You had 2 minority opinions that really were not well supported,
what is everybody
and no evidence.
Okay. I still can't get over, and I can't believe we're playing this, but I think Jon Stewart may have given us the best idea of sort of how the rest of America looks at where COVID came from. Take a listen.
Oh my God, there's been an outbreak of chocolatey goodness near Hershey, Pennsylvania. What do you think happened? Like, oh, I don't know, maybe a steam shovel mated with a cocoa bean, or it's the chocolate factory. Maybe that's it.
You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, well, so that's a good reason you don't take your scientific and medical advice from a professional comedian. Look, I mean, here's what we know. The reason he's saying that is because there is an Institute of Virology in Wuhan where this disease emerged. But the truth is there are institutes of virology studying coronaviruses in just about every major city in China. So no matter where COVID-19 emerged, you can make the argument there was an Institute of Virology nearby, and he fails to make that point. So what he said was very entertaining and amusing. But
Doc, I just got to get this in. You say there's an Institute of Virology in Wuhan. There is. It studied coronaviruses. It did gain of function research to make coronaviruses more deadly.
As did institutes in Shanghai and Beijing.
But I understand that. But you also make the point about the evidence. The people who control all the evidence is the Chinese, who we know lie, and we can tell they're lying when their lips are moving about this stuff, and covered it up and lied about everything they knew about COVID-19. So why is it that we and peer-reviewed papers and everything else take anything the Chinese are saying as fact and don't just assume the opposite?
Well, look, I can't be an apologist for the Chinese government. The Chinese do what the Chinese do. So I'm not saying that it's clearly we do need more transparency from the Chinese. And one of the things that I've been saying is, look, we've had COVID-19 as our 3rd major coronavirus of the 21st century. you know what we're going to have? We're going to have a fourth major one, possibly out of China before the end of 2030. And why? Because we've not done the outbreak investigation in central China that needs to be done, because we sort of understand that it clearly came from, but we understand it came from bats. It maybe jumped to humans through a second intermediary animal host, but we don't understand at the granular level that we should. In other words, taking samples from bats and animals, livestock across central China. And that's important to do because right now, as we speak, the fourth major coronavirus pandemic is likely emerging somewhere in Asia. We know these coronaviruses are across bats going everywhere from central China to Vietnam and Thailand, all the way up to Japan. And so there's a vulnerability there.
Yeah, that may be the most important thing, which is if we don't figure out how it happened in the past, can't figure out how to stop in the future. Doc, it's good to see you. Thank you very much.